Islam and greetings. Today's lesson is going to be American Islamism. I am Anail Bey, Divine Prince of the Divine Theocracy of the Moorish Science Temple of America through its Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. American Islamism is Islamism which was practiced and should still be practiced here in Al-Morocco. Al-Maricanos, Al-America, etc. Islamism, after all, was the very first religious creed. It was the first. American Islamism is the Islamism which was practiced by the Asiatic Moors here. American Islamism, it is not new. In fact, it is actually known as the old-time religion. The Moriscos sing that song in their churches, and they do not have a clue as to what any of the words actually mean. And something tells me that even if they did, they would not stop worshiping someone else's God. But American Islamism as a whole, is the religion of peace. What our cousins practice is Mohammedism. They practice the Islamism which their prophet, Muhammad, brought to them. Muhammad had a job to do. You see, brother leader Muhammad, he had to demonstrate to Rome that this ain't going to go the way you think it is. And while the Emperor Constantine Caesar remained, shall we say, intransigent in his position to carry out Caesar's verbal legacy, well, he stayed a little too long at the ball, because on May 29th, in the year 1453, brother leader Muhammad and our cousins, they tore Rome down for the third time. I think it's the third time. And so Caesar's Rome shall rule the world for 10,000 years. That'll never happen now. Rome's been destroyed 3 times. And every time it's destroyed, it has to start all over again. But at any rate, American Islamism, it is the religion of peace. Now, I'm going to share this with you. And what I'm going to tell you, it may actually spark a little interest in you. But if you saw that movie, Django Unchained, with Jamie Foxx in it, there was a scene that I'm going to call to your aid that you don't remember, because I'll bet for the most part none of you saw it. But in that movie, you were shown a Moabitess standing by a body of water. I believe it was a lake. She was standing by the lake with her arms up at 90 degrees in benediction to Allah, with a turban on her head. Now you will see this sister in that scene where Jamie Foxx is going to go kill those 2 brothers. While he is on his way to them, you don't look at him. you look behind him and his horse, you will see this sister standing to the left at the rear. It will be on Jamie Foxx's right rear, and you're going to see her standing by the water with her arms in benediction at 90 degrees. It is there. You will see it. It's not hidden, but you didn't see it. And that was the truth of you. And it should also help spark your scholastic pursuits by developing a timeline. You see, obviously, with that scene, what that told me was that was the beginning of the slave trade. But I'm getting too far off the point. That's a lesson for another day. There is that scene there, and that is actually the old-time religion, Islamism. And it is older than Christianity. I'm going to share with you how your Aunt Betty, Aunt Glo, your cousin Denise and them all wound up in the Christian church. And here's how your granny and your great-granny became Christians. Especially if you bother to check out that scene in that movie. You see, because what the sister was doing is what we used to do. Even when we were held as slaves. Because you see, you can never turn a Moor into a slave. You can only hold him as one. But he's always going to be Moor. And when the Moors met, and they met on Fridays, because that was, Friday's the holy day. Friday's the holy day. And they would meet, and when a group of Moors were seen together, they would be ridden down on, they'd be beat, brutalized. But you know what? Those Moors braved those beatings and things in order to keep the covenant. What is the covenant? It is the covenant that your God made with you. It goes like this. The covenant that Allah made with man. And if you do not know what the covenant is that Allah made with man, that would be your first homework assignment. Learning the covenant. But at any rate, when the Moors met, they would be beaten. One day, this priest from the Church of Rome, he came and he was going to help the Moors out. And, I guess there was a little altruism about him, about his gesture, because he invited the Moors to use the sanctuary of the church to hold their meetings. And that's what they did. That's what they did. Now, when Reverend Richardson burst open the doors, he opened the doors, let them in, and he left. The next Friday they met at the church. He opened the door, he let them in, and he left. The third time the Moors showed up to meet, in the sanctuary of the church, because no man would dare come into the house of the Lord and commit violence. The third time they came to the church to meet, Reverend Richardson, he had a stack of Bibles sitting on the floor next to him. And when asked why he was there, well, he told those Moors some of the congregants were complaining that items were missing, and I'm just here to reassure them that it is not you good people. But now, just so that you could be, these were not exactly his words, I'm paraphrasing, because his real words, I can't even get them out of my mouth. But they went kind of like this. But if you study these books, you study these Bibles, it may just set a little better with them, you know. I paraphrase, but that's kind of how it went. That's kind of how it went. And it went like that for generations. The church took you further and further away from your own God and gave you its God. And that is the religion of the Morisco. That's the religion of the Morisco. But American Islamism is simply the religion of peace. The way we should practice it is the way our prophet taught us to practice it. Going back to our cousins, the Mohammedans, the Islamism they practice, again, is Mohammedism. That is not our religion. We are American Moors. And if we were going to be named for our prophet, then I guess we would be called Druites or Aliites, something along those lines. We would be Druites because he was our prophet. And he is the one whose word we should follow. Not Brother Leader Muhammad. He did for his people. He did for his people. And they revere him. As we here at Temple Al-Umbra revere our prophet. Even though, that's just not done. You revere no man for anything. So let me rephrase that. We love and honor the prophet here. We love and honor him here. More about American Islamism. One of the things that is truly distressing to me is your real story and how far you are away from it and are moving further away from it every day. I'm going to share with you another difference between American Islamism and Mohammedism. Let's take the noble pig. Now, our Mohammedan cousins, they won't touch it. They won't touch it. It's bad juju for them. But here's the story of the noble pig. We created the pig. We created the pig. The other name for the pig is pork. It is called pork. It is named after the place it was created, which was Porcupine Island. That is where we created the pig. We had to create the pig because we had to feed our people. The worms were killing the sheep and the cattle. Worms are what you would call snakes today, venomous snakes. They were killing the cattle and the sheep. And we had to feed our people. And so we went to the laboratory on Porcupine Island. And because of the people that we are, we could not help but build intelligence into everything, from mankind to the pig. And if you know anything about the noble pig, what you know is he is smarter than a German shepherd, as loyal as one. And if he had vocal cords, you could teach one to speak. We couldn't help but build intelligence into him. The one thing we could not afford to build into him was a reservoir by which a snake strike would end his life. So we designed the pig to have no veins at all. A pig does not have any veins. That way, there is no delivery system for the poison from a snake strike. We invented the pig on Porcupine Island. That's why he's called Pork. Our cousins, they really couldn't get with that. It was an evil and unnatural thing by them. And that's, that's fine. That's fine for them. Their people were eating. Ours weren't. So it's fine for them to think that and believe. That's fine. But where American Asiatic Muslims are concerned, you ain't got nothing to fear from pork. What I would fear if I were you was all the propaganda against it. Why do you think there is all this propaganda against pork? I just gave you the answer. We created it. We created it. And you've got all of these silly demonstrations and adverse reactions from pork and stuff. Oh, do not be so easily led. Use your brain. You've got one. Use it. One of the sisters from Detroit back in 1927 asked the prophet, "Are we allowed to eat pork?" The prophet told the sister, "You were raised on it. I would only suggest you don't eat anything that would kill you." And so, Moors of America, it really is okay to eat pork. Your people created it, and they created it for your sustenance. All of this negative stuff you see about pork, all you have to do, and you don't have to go far, is think about all of the negative publicity about you around the world. Put them in that same category. Put it in that same category. You choose. But that's up to you. There is no religious restriction in American Islamism that prevents you from eating pork. When we created it, we created that creature so that every inch of him can be consumed. You see, we had families to feed. Do you think we cared about what our cousins thought of our creation? Their families were eating fine. Ours were suffering. Now, back to Reverend Richardson. After he introduced those Moors to Christianity, those Moors did what they could to hang on to Islamism until Reverend Richardson when asked if the Moors could stay behind on Sunday after service was over to practice their own religion, well, Reverend Richardson told them that the building has to be closed up now. And somebody, Waldo, I think his name was, he's going to come in and he's going to clean it up. So maybe next Sunday. And you know what? Next Sunday never came. And now you got Grandma sitting down there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, with this portrait of Jesus on the wall, with his pale skin and dark brown hair. She doesn't know that that is actually Cesare Borgia, son of Pope Alexander VI. True name, Rodrigo Borgia. That's Cesare Borgia. His father made him general of the papal army. It was that army that helped run us out of Spain, beginning in 1491. That's who you're looking up to and clasping your hands to, Cesare Borgia. And you are told he is Jesus the Christ. Nothing could be further from the truth. Another difference between American Islamism and what came to be known as the religion of the slaves, and that is Christianity. And again, I'm only following the law. I am not breaking it. I'm only following the law. The one they called Jesus the Christ, his real name was Caius Marius. Caius Marius, his family were pretty big deals in Rome. And he ascended the throne. One day, while standing in the temple of Jupiter, and during this time, you see Rome and Greece, they shared the same gods. You know, Apollo, Zeus, these guys. One day, while Caius was standing in the garden of Jupiter, in the temple of Jupiter, he came upon this magnificent idea that he was going to become the God-man. I'll tell you how that began in another lesson on another day. But he decided he was going to become the first God-man. And this is how he did it. He took the Ju from Jupiter, from the god Jupiter. He added the word Lius to it. And if you look in the dictionary under the word Lius, you're going to be a little bit surprised. So he added the word Lius to the Ju from Jupiter. And then he added the Etruscan word for God, which is the word Asar. A-E-S-A-R. And then he put the C from his given name, Caius, in front of it. And on that day, he became Julius Caesar, the world's first Holy Roman Emperor, meaning that not only was he the head of state, he was also the head of religion. Now, somewhere around 40 BC, somewhere around there, the date escapes me, but somewhere around 40 BC, on December 25th, in the year 40 BC, or thereabouts, he stood out on the balcony before the whole of Rome. And on this day was called a Christ Mass, a Mass given by the Christ. Now, for those of you who never bothered to look up what the word Christ means the one who is anointed. Anointed. You know, that's what Christ means. And Julius Caesar was a self-anointed God. And so on December 25th, in the year 40 BC, standing before the whole of Rome, he announced on that day, on Christ Mass Day, that he was Jesus the Christ. That is why Jesus was born on December 25th. That's the day he declared himself Jesus the Christ. I will tell you why he chose that name in another lesson on another day. But there's a reason he chose that name. It's not a coincidence. And neither is J.C., Julius Caesar, and J.C., Jesus the Christ. And there are no coincidences. I will teach you these things later. However, you've got Cesare Borgia. Your grandma does down there in Alabama, Mississippi. She got Cesare Borgia hanging on the wall, looking at him for inspiration. And American Islamism, you are to be what you are to be. And that is free from limitations. And by that I mean those limitations that prevent you from ascending higher into your higher self. That's it. That is it. American Islamism is easy. It is easy to practice to perfection. Doesn't require anything other than the will to do and the will to be. Because the one thing that Allah did give you was a free will. That's how you wound up here. You exercised your free will. And now here you are. You're in a place now where you have to see, feel, hear, smell, and touch, taste. Wasn't always like that for you. But you invoked your will. And here is where you are. But as always, the ongoing campaign of the Moorish Science Temple of America through Temple Alhambra is to change the character of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So, brothers and sisters, and students of knowledge, take this, add it to your toolbox. And the toolbox that you should begin building should go only one place. That one place is that place here that is an attic for you right now. Right now, it's an attic. And the only thing that goes into an attic are old, useless, worthless things that you do not intend ever to see again. Those are the things that go in an attic. Only the useless and the worthless, and never to be used again. My advice to you would be to take that janitor's broom and that little window in the attic. You take that broom and you sweep all that useless garbage out of that little window. And you turn that attic into a workshop of the mind. There's a lot to be done up there. And it is no longer a storage place for the useless. It becomes a place of reflection, meditation, and creation. So, with that, I bid you peace.